Welcome to the Spacious Unknowing Network, Sunshine for Your Soul, with Julio
and JoJo Rose.
We invite you to enter into ecological equanimity in the unified field of spacious unknowing.
We open and awaken to broaden your access to the soul rhythm in all of us.
We engage in the pilgrimage inward to feel the infinite love that beats in the rhythm of our collective soul. We will guide you to new horizons and infinite love during our Inquire Within segment.
To accept that, you create your field.
I create my field.
And together, we create the unified field. Spacious Unknowing Network
with Julio
and JoJo Rose starts now. Aloha and welcome to Spacious Unknowing Network, communing with your soul. I'm JoJo Rose, here with JoJo Rose. Today's show is We Quantum Breathe Back to the Future.
And that's what this is all about. We've been sharing a lot about the family when JoJo was young, and she's brought all of what we have shared into the present now, where she is living the way she lived as a child. So that is a big leap, and it's been so beneficial to have the talk show where we did share the stories, and it made a huge difference for JoJo. Well, for me too, I enjoyed it, but for her, it's been life-changing, and that's what we're here for today. So here you go, JoJo. It's all yours.
Thank you. Yes, being in the talk show has really helped me to grow in leaps and bounds as a human being, a human soul. And what I have learned from all of that we have shared in the talk shows from my childhood is that Julie, my mother, really set the tone in our home. And it was a way of life. It is a way of life. And it's communication and listening in, learning to listen in to my soul rhythm, my heartbeat. From that, we share graciously, generously with the people that are in our life, with people that we may meet on the street. It's flows. It just flows from us. We shared as a family in everything with great joy and love and thanksgiving, and that's life now. Each family member had a voice. We each had an individual voice, and in that individual voice, we added to the voice of the family in the way that we not only shared with each other, but shared in the community. Community was very important in our life. It's very, very important to have people in our life. There was always flow from the heart, flow from the inner being, spirit of truth. And what I really came to recognize is that the spirit of truth is love, light, truth, and the universal flow of peace. Be still. So what this has all done to me is allowed me to recognize that I have love in my heart to share. I have light in my being with which to see the truth by. I have the truth in my voice to speak. And peace, if ever I am feeling not sure about something, or I have little things that I used to live in want to come back in, I can go to that place of peace, be still, and uplift the old voice, uplift the old thoughts into this, my life, my new life in spacious unknowing. It's a wonder to behold. And prayer. prayer. I have come back to the place of prayer being that still, quiet place internally. Whether it's prayer or a word I speak, it's to always be filled with truth and with love and kindness. Kindness for me and kindness for every single human being, human soul I come in contact with. And I am so full of gratitude and joy and wonder. Every day is a wonder in this life. And I am,
It is.
it is, it's,
Yeah. And when you mentioned prayer, we had a little talk on this yesterday, but prayer, if we understand it as prayer, is a ray of light moved by love.
yes.
So whether it's moving into us and moving forth to another, it has to have that flow in it. It has to have that realness in it, vibration, frequency, something that is real and tangible, not only to you, but to the one to whom for whom you're praying.
Yes.
And there is a real, it's communication, it's connection, it's a realization. If everyone that has all these prayers in the whole wide world was praying that way, we would have a different world practically overnight.
Yeah, and I love that you're saying it that
Yeah.
way, because how I experience it is there's resonance,
Yeah.
and it's something that rises up from within me
Mm-hmm.
in genuine, deep care
Yeah.
for the person that I am. Even if it's whether it's, I should say, whether it's for me a prayer to understand something in my life or prayer for another human soul, it's deep care.
Well, and it's protection.
Ah,
You know,
yes.
that's what I learned when you all were little with children. It's a protection for me and you at the same time, for the whole family or whomever came into our life, or if I was given to pray for situations in the world or
Yes.
whatever it was. It's always much more, I'm going to do it this way, because you can feel the feeling in the soul of it. It has to have that in it, or it's nothing. It's just words.
Yeah.
It's just sounds. And there are a lot of repeatable prayers that are easy to just say,
yeah.
and they have no meaning anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's why I never wanted to learn the St. Francis prayer, because I wanted to each time read it so that every single line had deep meaning to me. And it worked. It was such a vibrant prayer.
Yeah.
And that was the one that I saw in the elevator door when you were born preemie. And Benny and I went into the chapel to pray. And from that prayer, I had big peace. I mean, it just came into my heart so big, into my whole being. And it's because I allowed it to be a prayer filled with rays of light that were moved by love, however long ago.
Yes.
St. Francis created that prayer. And we're all recipients if we care to be. That's how it works. Quantum breathing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you saying it that way, it's truth is truth is truth is truth. And even if the truth, like St. Francis and the way he lived his life, that's still ever present today.
Sure.
For all of us.
There are many, many beings.
Yes, there
ancient
are.
ones and gurus from India or other places. You know, there are so many beings of light and love that lived here in that way, and many who are here now that live here in that way. And I was listening to Dr. Jude Coravan recently, and she said that instead of seeing the Big Bang as the beginning of the world, or the universe, actually.
Mhm.
She sees it as a big breath. Well, we know spirit is breath.
Mhm.
And so breath is makes everything that's ever been made. So
Mhm.
sound is what manifests. And it's just so rich to
Mhm.
have someone who's a physicist, a quantum physicist, speaking the
Mhm.
way we've all spoken.
Yes.
And it's science now.
Yeah.
And that's really, to me, beautiful whenever it's um, made into that clarity in science. It just affirms everything we ever knew from
Mhm.
prayer,
It is
really.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And we don't stop
No.
whatever we are feeling that is rich and beautiful and real.
Yeah.
We just understand it maybe even
Mhm.
deeper. I loved it when I heard her say it because I felt that way.
Yeah.
And I had been receiving a lot of information about that some years ago. So to hear someone else say it out loud, truth is
Yes.
truth.
Mhm.
And so, so many things I read, we all have the same truth. And when it isn't truth, I know it immediately.
Mhm.
And so that's a real gift to give myself
Mhm.
and anyone who's in my life. So,
Yeah, and that you saying that, that's another gift that I have received because I know from re-feeling and seeing my childhood and how you set the tone for a way of life. Breath was central to everything
oh,
that happened in our home.
yeah.
It built a unified field in our home. It built a unified field in me,
Mhm.
allowed me to be an inquiry for understanding. And no matter what was happening in my life, I knew that when I walked through that door, you would be present, really listening and allowing me to get whatever understanding I needed in the moment or caring for what was needed in that moment
Oh, yes.
to
Yeah.
alleviate the emotions and
Yeah.
bring in the love and the understanding. And you've helped me to recognize what you were saying with truth.
Hmm.
And that now when I read other authors,
Hmm. Yeah.
I
I love
it
it.
goes in me like, oh, I've heard this from you. And yet it
Yeah.
expands my knowledge. It
Yeah.
expands the love. It expands the spirit that's in me
Yeah.
and gives me greater clarity.
Well, you had a lot of trouble separating from me, not separating,
Mhm.
like being able to be who you are
Yes, I did.
in you and having what you have now.
Mhm.
And so you made it. And anyone that you're designed to read
Mhm.
from your soul rhythm,
Yeah.
it is the same truth, written differently or spoken differently, but the whole message
Mhm.
has that truth sound and feeling in it,
Mhm.
the soul feeling in it.
Mhm.
And that's why we love music, because so much of it is soul music and we feel it.
Yeah.
And we have choices what we're going to read, what we're going to listen to, what we're going to hear music wise.
Mhm.
And those are whatever our choice is, will determine a lot about whether we have peace or anxiety.
Yes.
For sure.
Well, and again, I always learn when you speak to me, every word you speak has purpose to me. It has
Mhm.
purpose, it
Yeah,
has
it
meat
does.
and meaning. And so in my old life, it was that feeling of soul rhythm is one thing. And I've come to
Oh,
understand that every day, when I listen in to my
hmm,
soul, when I listen into my inner being, when I listen into you, the soul rhythm is alive.
yeah,
It may feel and look different, but it is alive
yeah,
and it isn't connected to just one thing.
that's right.
It's ever changing, ever breathing, ever
creating.
flowing, ever
Yeah,
ever
ever
creating.
creating. Yeah, and we watch that in the whole world. And if we're aware everything is connected, we have a 0 point field that is in the quantum vacuum. So time and space in the middle of that is filled with inform. It informs us if we
Yes.
let it.
Yes.
And it's so richly filled with an awareness of how everything is connected and everyone is connected and we are wireless. And that, we have Wi-Fi. It's a copy of the wireless that we are. We can meet up with someone and we start talking the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
It's because we're so wireless and we do connect.
Yeah.
And the sounds are connected with what both of us have been vibing in. And it's
Yes.
so fitting and so wonderful. There's no better feeling than that.
No. No, there isn't. It's
Yeah, or a phone
Yes.
call when we're probably feeling that person before we actually pick the phone up or whatever
Yes.
and listen. And it's the same, and it's you've been wanting to call them and they called you, and
Yes.
it's just wonderful. And these are tiny ones. There's
They
big
are.
ones in the world. And I think we'll be covering a lot of that next talk show because it will show what kept you from your childhood
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
And didn't allow for your future to be the same. And now you've come out of that, which we will talk about next week, and come into the brand new future, the new world, the new human being that you are. And that's to be so thankful for.
Oh, I am. And I don't know if I made it clear in my communication, but really the magnitude and the fullness of this is that in seeing the way of life that you gave to us with your presence, your just who you were in our home, I not only refelt it and resaw it, but I realized, oh, I have this. It's inside of me. This is not something you have that I can't have. It made me really like wake up
And it
to
isn't over there or
no,
back
it's
there.
now. It's now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that I have this inside of me, and it's really helped me to understand me much better and the importance of me being present in my life with whatever shows up.
Exactly.
Whether it's inside of my own being or it's something that's showing up out here to make me go in, okay, what is this showing me that I need to pay attention to or notice or
yeah. And we talked a little bit previously that life, when you work hard and you think only of that, and that what you really, if somebody goes for a job, they're really working hard to get their pay. So there's not a soul rhythm necessarily. I mean, there can be, but 9 times out of 10, there isn't. And so when we live from letting what is within us move and flow into the world, and we let it take us where it is best for us to be, it's so different.
Yeah.
So different because it isn't following through like two separate things.
Right.
It's one flow from within into our world. And it really is such a wonderful feeling to be living that way. And I'm watching the way you're beginning to have that happening. I call it a happening because experiences don't necessarily provide the vibe you need. But a happening is a show and tell.
Yeah, it is.
You get what's shown you and you get what is verbal at the same time.
Mhm.
So that's pretty wonderful, inclusive. There's no exclusion of anything in this
No.
world. It really is accepting and turning it if we need to, turning it over sometimes to see
Mhm.
all sides of it. I love doing that. And just being able to, oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah, and you have often said it, and I understand it better now, of that we are often called to be in an action that
Always.
maybe not feel like it's right, or we're in the action, and if we're really true to ourselves and really taking in or bringing home what is in that happening, the consciousness opens
Oh
and
yeah.
shows us something so different
Yeah.
and so real. And I can give the example of when I recently went out and was looking for work in
Oh yes.
different fields. And the wonder of doing that is it helped me put together all of my gifts and talents. I've had a lot of different work positions through my years, but I was able to put together the what's the word I want? The thread that kind of went through each one of them in how I showed up, my gifts and talents. But it also woke me up to, what kind of life do I really choose to live? It's not just taking in this way. It's not just bringing, it's learning to, okay, if this is coming this way, how do I be with this to then bring it forward this way,
Flow.
to let it flow?
Yeah.
And through that, I learned so much about me, and it's helped me to clarify the old patterning that I've lived in,
Yeah.
to come into the new patterning of this way of life.
Yeah.
That was,
I would say, a new clearing.
yeah,
It's a clearing so that you're really getting to be clear by, having this show up to help you to turn what's old into something brand new for you, new sounds, new ways to see, new ways to be.
so I'm going to give a particular
Yeah.
for the audience with this. So I was going online and I was looking at the qualifications, the descriptions. Some of them had the pay, some of them didn't. So when I went and talked to the people, I always left feeling like, okay, these are the requirements that you're expecting up here, and the pay's here. There's a huge discrepancy. And that was the word I used. So I went in with that. There was an internal inquiry. Okay, there's a discrepancy. What discrepancy may I still be living in that I'm not aware of, that I need to be aware of,
Yeah.
and come alive into, so that my life is different and I am different in my life?
Well, there's a congruency when you do
Yes.
this kind of work because
Yes.
you begin to bring together whatever you may have static inside of you that you need to turn to the dynamic
Yeah.
that would assist you in
Yes.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was more than a need. It was that internal inquiry to want to not to want, to really need and understand. And if I didn't have the need to understand, then I was just leaving it on the shelf. And I've reached that place where I can't leave it on the shelf
Thank
anymore.
you.
I really have to bring it home.
Yeah.
For the understanding.
Yes.
And what I learned through that short period of being seemingly in this exercise, but it wasn't an exercise, it was my life.
Yeah.
I learned so much and brought home so much to know, yes, I need this life. This is a way of life that I embrace, am grateful for, will continue to be in, and grow in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's wonderful to understand the way you are. And then you can really make wiser choices.
Yes.
And what you did do that work when after each of those
Mhm.
job possibilities didn't sh- didn't weren't congruent with the
Mm-mm.
website or anything that went
No.
with it. And so it was important for you to notice that and ask yourself
Yes.
the question you did, because that's being real.
Yeah, it
When
is.
we're real, we get real responses because we're being mature. We're not emotional and reacting.
Yeah.
We're responding to what you noticed as a discrepancy, and
Mhm.
you knew that, okay, this is my life. I went there. I read it. I applied. What does this mean
Yes.
to me? And the gift that you did receive was you valued all of your work life
Mhm. Did.
that you hadn't
Mhm.
previously done.
Yeah.
And as you valued it, you were allowing yourself to value your time and presence
Yes.
in this world and this new world.
Yes.
And so it makes a difference.
Yeah. It does make a difference and is making a difference. It's
Yeah.
ongoing.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
is ongoing. It
Yeah.
is not
Never
just
ending.
no, never ending. Not at all.
Yeah.
And once again, we have come to break. Stay with us because you want to hear what else we have to speak on with this and communicate with you on. We will be right back. Aloha and welcome back. Whether you have been with us or you're just joining us, you're listening to Spacious Unknowing Network, Communing with Your Soul with JoJo Rose and Julie O. Rose. So before the break, I was sharing, we were speaking on job searching for a job and what I experienced with that. And I went to 3 or 4 different companies, but I had done my kind of like research, wanting to understand the company, what they stood for. Some of them gave pay, some of them didn't. But there was a discrepancy in their voice, what they sounded like reading their website, and what I found out when I went in person. Not just in their tone, but in their pay. And in the past, I would have listened to that person, let them make the decision for me. And this time around, it was like, no, I have to be an inquiry here and understand me. And I felt the discrepancy and it did not feel good. And I didn't take a low paying job. I would have in the past, but I didn't because I knew and understood my true gifts and talents and what I would be bringing to the company. So from that, Julie brought a company to my attention, and it is a company that is very well known and is conscious of being conscious in their what they bring forward to their customers, to the world, the new world. So I decided to put in an application and a cover letter and my resume. And the interesting thing was through all of this, I thought I was in consciousness given, you need to change your resume, which I did. And I was so grateful that I did. It went from like a long resume to a short resume, but it really, I did it in a way that it showed and fit with what they were needing in the position. And then I spent all day putting a cover letter together because I kept walking the floor wanting to understand how can I distill what it is that I have that fits with their job description and speaks to them where they can feel it from me. And that was like a whole nother world sending that off. It felt really, really good. And I was grateful to have done it. And I wouldn't have done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have expanded my horizons that way,
Mm-hmm.
going to a company that is conscious of being conscious in the way that they're in business and the way that they show up.
The way they treat all of
Their workers,
and
their
customers
vendors,
and
their
yeah,
customers,
everybody.
everyone that
Yeah,
comes that is part of their
right.
organization.
There's no discrepancies
No,
there.
no, not at all.
So it was a good for you to be
Very
in that.
good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. It was wonderful.
And it's really guided me, actually. How would I say it? It lifted me into a whole nother level and layer of myself through being in this.
Yeah.
And something that was so vitally alive in our home was free will.
Mm-hmm.
And you have spoken into that field quite a bit. And I didn't fully understand
I
it.
know.
So
Most people don't.
now I do. Through this period, I've had to really muscle up my will
Mm-hmm.
to understand, how am I speaking to myself?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm speaking a certain way, like I used to not hear it, now I hear it. Now I can change it in the moment, uplift.
Yeah.
There's such a freedom in that, such a free feeling. But now it's understanding that, well, if I'm caring for me
Mm-hmm.
and I'm noticing what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? How am I showing up?
Mm-hmm.
What am I bringing this way? Not just what am I receiving this way,
Exactly.
but what am I giving? Then I'm allowing myself to live from free will,
Mm-hmm.
which then allows me to live free will with you or anyone else that I come in contact with, where
Yeah.
just the way I don't want another human being making a decision for me,
Mm-hmm.
I have no right to make a decision for another human being.
That's the truth.
And that's free. That's genuine free
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, and that's how I raised your children.
Yes, you
did.
did.
It wasn't permissive. It wasn't
Mm-mm.
any of that. It was more making you aware
Mhm.
so that you could understand.
Yes.
And free will has to do with letting you each speak.
Yeah.
Open up and speak and contribute to the family's communication.
Yeah.
And you were free to say whatever you were in, or felt, and it was never mean or harsh or anything. It was always a real joining and connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so from after that, I really began to see free will
Mm-hmm.
because I'd had it all my life. So I didn't, and gave it to others. So I didn't know. Again, I didn't know what I had because it was easy. It was just the way I lived.
Yes.
And I always wanted to learn and see, well, what is this exactly? Because it flowed forth from me and I wanted to know what it really meant.
Mm-hmm.
And people would meet us and say, well, your children are so comfortable talking and saying whatever they need to say, and you're so with them, Benny and I both.
Yes.
And it was shocking to them. And I didn't know why. And I mean, I knew what we were in.
Yes.
And I also knew that I wasn't a teacher and I wasn't here to teach them. I would share with them. And I one time took a woman at her word and I did start sharing with her what made this possible.
Yes.
And her eyes just glazed over, and I went, oh.
Yes.
And so I just, slipped out of it and went on with whatever. But definitely, um, it's not something people seek out much. Today they do, but I often more hear that there is no such thing as free will than that they understand that you give yourself free will to make your own decisions, but also you allow that for anyone who comes into your life, a child, an adult, because you have the vibe inside that assists them in opening up to it.
Yeah.
When they're with you.
Yeah.
They may not open up to it when they leave you.
Yeah.
Not our children at that time, but anybody else. And I understood that, but I could only live like I lived. I couldn't judge anyone else for the way they lived. That was never a part of me.
I actually see it so differently now. Like so many of the stories that we've shared here, but also stories that haven't been shared, that no matter who came into our home, they did feel that peace. And that was so integral too. And they did open up.
Yeah.
And they did have free will. And because that was integral to how you were with them, how we were with them. I mean, we all kind of depended on the person, depended on what was happening, but they felt that.
Yeah, and they were so different that it was eye-opening to me, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I loved that, that could be.
Yeah.
And they felt the peace.
Yep.
And all of it. But anyway, this is about you now.
No, I know, but it's helping me to
Yeah.
see on a grander scale what that actually feels like. It's kind of, and we spoke on this last Thursday when we went out. We had a wonderful time and met people as we walked on the street, met people in each of the stores we went into. And with you, it's common for me to behold, to gaze upon what am I really seeing in consciousness. And I saw the love and the free will in action from you. And I saw the response from the people, many of the people.
And I didn't say a word.
You didn't say a word.
Out loud.
No.
I was just present.
Just present. Yeah. And they responded with a smile or a hello or genuine joy and connection.
Yeah.
Full connection. And that connection had many different faces and feelings to it.
Yeah.
And that's free will.
Yeah.
I didn't see it this way, so I'm talking it
that's
through
good.
to be able to say to you what
it's my free will to be loving, kind, caring, and just carrying that.
Yeah.
Not to impress anybody, not to improve anybody's life or disprove them, just to be. That's who I am. So when you told me what you had beheld, it touched me so deeply because you're really coming into the clearing where you can see true. And it just touches me really deeply. And I'm very thankful, JoJo, for you and for all who are going to meet you in this new world, the new life that you're in, because it definitely is a wonder.
It is a wonder. And I'm as touched as you are because I know the difference.
Yeah.
I know the difference between, like you said, hardworking, have to produce, hard life, struggle life, and this life that is so full of love, light, and truth, and peace,
yeah,
spirit, breath. I feel free and I feel home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I really feel free. And I really recognize the importance of being willing to be in and understand my not only my inner workings, but the way that that comes forward into my life, whether it be with you, it be with a child, a neighbor, someone at the store, wherever it is. And I think the biggest thing that I mean, I'm grateful for all of it, but you said it earlier that I was really kind of like felt like we had to be literally two peas in a pod, so for lack of a better way of saying it.
Mm.
And to be present with you Thursday and just behold and see what I
Mhm.
was watching, but to understand it in consciousness
Mhm.
as I was watching it
Mhm.
and be present,
Yeah.
not trying to make myself interfering,
Yeah.
trying to make myself more important. That's like, woohoo, yeah, happy dance.
But what you said about home, Jojo, is really the truth for each one of us on
Mhm.
this planet.
Yeah,
This is home.
yeah, it is.
This is home.
Yeah, it is.
I take me wherever I go.
Mhm.
They don't know where I live or how I live or anything.
Yeah.
This is me. This is my life.
Yeah.
And who I am, wherever I am, that's my home
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
And I'll never lose it. It's
No.
always going to be. And when you say you're home, that's what I hear.
Mhm.
Because people are always looking for someone else being their home.
Yes.
And I know you did that with me. I understand that. And that's
Yeah,
part
I
of the
did.
growth and development that people undergo to get here.
Mhm.
And I knew that. So I was willing only when it was needed.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I would talk to you
Yep.
and give you an understanding
Yeah.
because you didn't know what you were doing.
No,
I
I
did.
didn't.
And so, and from being with you on so many levels in so many ways,
Mhm.
you finally came to,
Mhm.
oh, yes, this is my home.
Yes, it is.
I mean, this,
This is, yes, this is my home. And, another really large one recently was, and I've spoken of this on the show, of my mind wavering, my mind retreating. You've spoken of it. Not really having clarity in my mind.
Mhm.
The mind being a place that held me steadfast in the fear, guilt, and control that I lived in.
Yeah.
And through this, I've come to recognize and realize that my mind needed to be held steady, sure, and true in the spirit of truth,
Yeah.
in love, light, truth, and the universal flow of peace. And because I claimed that
Mhm.
and made that decision and knew I need this,
Mhm.
there's no way I can continue on how I've been, where one minute I'm this way and the next minute I'm getting the intuitions. No, I need to be that steady all the time where I'm understanding
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
whatever
you
is
are.
needed. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are moments when you ask me something and I say, I'm not going to make that decision for you.
Yeah.
You need to be
Yeah.
asking
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly.
And you're getting it.
I am.
And you're getting fast in getting what you need to receive for your changes.
Yes.
And that's beautiful.
It is.
And how about if we just let down and let go and breathe with our listeners and just take a nice deep breath.
Yes.
You want to take them into a breath, Jojo?
Sure.
Okay.
Wherever you are, I want you to go into your heart, place your hands on your heart, Take a nice inhale. Feel the rhythm of your heart. And as you feel the rhythm of your heart, raise your hands up and feel the aliveness between your hands.
It's hard to do that.
I know it is hard to do that
together, but we can.
It is.
It's the vibe.
It is the vibe.
I call it spirituality.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
So now keep your hands on your heart. Close your eyes and allow your whole being to come into a stillness, peace, spirit and breath, holy, whole breath. Breathing in and breathing out.
And when you breathe out letting down and letting go of whatever your day has been. Any stress, just let it go. Just let it go. Breathe in. Go ahead.
Breathe in. And breathe out. Getting all the stress, worry, anxiety. Begin to feel the goodness on the in-breath. The love, the light, the wholeness of who you truly are. And exhale, breath out. The inhale, inhaling, bringing in goodness, wonder, feeling your innermost being that is speaking to you in love. Breathing out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Now I want you to take your hands and hold them in front of your heart like you have a ball between your hands.
Chi.
Yes. Spirituality. How do you say it?
Spirituality. Chi. I said it like you did. Yeah. Yeah. So
breathe in and let your hands just move with the energy and the flow. And breathe out, bringing your hands back together. Feel that aliveness. Feel it, feel it, feel it. Woo! Breathing in, expanding.
We quantum breathe together.
In conscious love. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are grateful to have been here with you today, sharing heart to heart, being to being.
Yes.
Quantum breathing together. We will be here again next week, Monday, for 4 p.m. Hawaii time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, enjoy life. Quantum breathe in the goodness of your life.
Yeah, enjoy life stress
Free. Yes.
Breathe until you feel the stress just leaving, just melting away.
Yes. We will see you next week. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Spacious Unknowing Network, Sunshine for Your Soul, with Julie O.
and JoJo Rose.
Join us again for life-affirming communication every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Time on transformationtalkradio.com so that you can bask in the rays of infinite love.
Access soul rhythm to tap into your real being for your heartbeat in the rhythm of your soul.
Feel it guide you to new horizons and unlimited infinite love. For more information about Julio
And JoJo Rose,
visit SpaciousUnknowingNetwork.com. That's SpaciousUnknowingNetwork.com.